Nothing much happened after the incident with the Uchiha. Anko noticed Miu didn't wear a bra like her, so she inquired as to what else she didn't wear. Anko left with a nosebleed and muttering about leaving her underwear behind when Miu told her that she felt any lingerie was too constricting and didn't wear it. Rock Lee was disappointed that the only spandex-clad girl was already engaged, but he didn't let it dampen his flames of youth. Rather, he worked even harder in preparation for the upcoming tournament. Sasuke was not even allowed to see the envoys until they left. Tsunade was adamant about it. Despite the elder advisor's protests, they needed to be able to communicate with the West on good terms. And stealing and raping one of the envoys was not a good way to begin. When morning came, the envoys gathered at the gate. Tsunade, Hayashi, and a few others decided to say their goodbyes in person. Kanishi extended his hand to shake Tsunade's before leaning in and whispering something into her ears. They left soon after. They would have noticed that Iam and Tuchai had left with them if they had paid attention. But all eyes were on Kenpachi, who was flaring his chakra for amusement. Everyone else had gone about their business except Tsunade, who was stunned by what Kanishi had just told her. "Come with me, Hayashi and Asuma," she said. They followed her into her house. Perplexed, Tsunade would have chosen the Hokage's office, but he didn't think it was secure enough. Inside her home was a private room built by the Shodaime Hokage himself, preventing any kind of seal or eavesdropper from listening in. "All right, Hokage-sama. What's this all about?" Asuma asked, chewing on an unlit cigarette. He quit smoking after marrying Kurenai for the sake of their child's safety. She was born 2 years after Konohamaru abandoned Naruto to pursue him. His actions devastated him and his brother, who felt betrayed by their father. Kurenai rescued him from his predicament and married him soon after. "Hayashi, it's about the Konohamaru and your children and nephew. They, like Naruto, are still alive in the West." Hayashi froze when he heard the news. He hoped they were safe, but he always feared the worst. Soon, his stoic face shattered, and he fell to his knees, crying all the tears he hadn't allowed to show in public. Asuma, too, wasn't holding back and was crying. Tsunade felt a huge weight lifted off her shoulders. Naruto had survived. Tsunade revealed her plan after they had shed tears. "I'll go watch the tournament. Konoha can survive without me for a while. No doubt the Kage from the other village will also attend. They would never pass up an opportunity to see the West without risk. I'm taking Shizune as part of the escort, and I'm inviting you too as well. I'll be there. Anything to be reunited with my children and nephew." Hayashi stated, "Is it okay to bring my wife and child? I had planned to compete in this tournament, but I don't feel safe leaving them here alone without me," Asuma inquired. Tsunade considered it before agreeing to his terms. "I failed you once before, Naruto," Tsunade thought. "I'm not going to let anyone stop me from seeing you again." At Akatsuki Station, the West has sent invitations to all of the major villages and has decided to invite Oto as well, Orochimaru reported, to plan for the future. Everyone had summoned shadow images of themselves to the base. It had been difficult to capture the Bijus, and now they had all vanished except for Gaara and B, who were well protected. They cornered some of them several times, but they all managed to escape due to mysterious circumstances. Gaara defeated them in his own village, but not without some mysterious assistance. Deidara's bomb burst at the last second, allowing Gaara to recover and push them back. Gaara was better prepared for the bomber the next time. It didn't help that Itachi and Kasama went missing. Tobai's hypnotized Sanbai Jinchuriki also mysteriously vanished. He'd been deposed and was about to be executed when something intervened. As a result, he vanished with the wind. They've also invited the Kages to pay them a visit. If Konoha's Kage leaves, this could be our opportunity to strike. They are desperate for the cash prize. Orochimaru continued. "To be honest," Kakuza said, "I wouldn't mind entering myself. That much Ryo, plus the opportunity to collect a few worthy bounties, would be worth it, especially after what happened last time. You place far too much value on money." Kakuza, Jashin despises people who worship money, although the tournament would require Jashin to make numerous sacrifices, yelled Hidden, before he began praising Jashin over and over. To everyone's relief, Pain silenced him. They had finally figured out how to mute someone if they became too loud, which they mostly used on Hidden. Hidden had never been told about the mute button and thus had no idea that no one was listening to him. "Orochimaru, you will also attend the tournament as Kage. We cannot allow the Konoha to accumulate so much Ryo at once. This is also an excellent opportunity to spy on the West while raising funds for our cause." Pain was commanded. "Bring Zetsu with you. He'll remain unseen and useful for spying." Orochimaru nodded, relieved to see the West. He'd heard a lot about them and was eager to investigate and exploit them, if he's lucky. The emperor will be a fool and let him have his body. Then he would become emperor of such a vast empire. And possibly immortal, carry on as planned, earn money and find the bijus. Do not draw attention to our organization. Dismay, actually. The envoy mentioned one more thing to me, Orochimaru interjected. Conan frowned at him for interrupting Pain and not bringing it up earlier. They told me that I could bring Akatsuki members as visiting group members or participants, if they already knew I was a member of this group. Their spy network must be much larger than I thought. Everyone looked around. They were all S-class missing nins. And they were all invited to the tournament. Okay, then, Hidden, Deidara, and Kakuza. You will all take part in the tournament. Hidden will compete in the weapons-only tournament, while the other two will compete in the final. Dismissed. All right, I have more people I can sacrifice for Jashin. Hidden yelled out. Nobody could hear him because the mute button was still on. Returning to the envoys. So, how are we getting there? Ayame inquired as Kanishi carried her. Miu gave her a dirty look but understood that they needed to get to their destination as soon as possible. Tsuchai was being carried by Kenpachi. We're not going all the way back, if that's what you're thinking, Kanishi responded. They came to a halt before Yakairu pulled out a gun and fired a flare into the sky. A loud rumbling noise could soon be heard. Tsuchai and Ayame stared up at the sky in awe and shock as it fell. We're going back in style, Miu said as they all piled into the car and drove back to the west. Within the palace, Naruto was attending his regular council meeting. His council was actually quite clean, because each member had to be tested and pledge loyalty to help the people rather than themselves. Back in his office, he had a clone doing paperwork. He exhaled a sigh. Oh, how he adored abusing shadow clones. It was extremely beneficial. It was perplexing why none of the other cages had ever used this jutsu. He gave a slightly sinister grin. Hinata and he would use it during their bedtime activities. There were so many different approaches they could take. And Hinata appeared to be more perverted than him. Wasn't it always the quiet ones who stood out? You're doing it again. Naruto-sama, Fufu, reprimanded Ukai, one of Naruto's greatest generals. Naruto jerked his head out of his reverie. Ukai used to scare him a lot. His personality and the way he acted around people bothered him at times. But he was irreplaceable as a general and a friend. I'll admit, Kit. Your vixen keeps you entertained and wanting more, Kurama said. We have received word that all of the villages have accepted and will meet in the Land of Spring. A counselor announced. Naruto smiled. This would be a lot of fun to see. After a month, after receiving invitations to the tournament, each village held its own mini-tournament to determine who would attend. Their decisions were quickly reached, and the list was sent to the Pakara merchant house. Everyone was surprised to learn that the merchant house that had made such an impression on them by bringing foreign goods belonged to the West. They were wary of them but decided it wasn't worth attacking for fear of upsetting the West. And they had such high-level seals in each of their stores that breaking in was not worth the effort. The following was the list. Sasuke, Lee, Kiba, Guy, Heiki, Chaoji, and Sakura, Taijutsu, the Suma, Yugao, and 3 random Jounin, Chunin, Sasuke, Kiba, Shikamaru, Shino, Anko, Sai, and Tenzo are all mixed up. Tsunade, Shizune, Hayashi, Kurenai and Child, Hana, Ino, Hamura, Abisu, and Uruka are among the guests. Suna, 5 random Jounin, Chunin Taijutsu, Temari, Matsuri, and 4 other random Jounin, Chunin, Temari, Baki, and 5 random Jounin. Visitors include Gaara, Kankuro, Chio, and 2 civilian council members. Taijutsu, C, 4 random Joinin, Chunin Kumo, Darui, B, Samui, Atsui, Karui, and Amoy have weapons. A, B, Darui, C, Samui, and others. Visitors include Mabui, J, 3 civilian council members, and 2 shinobi council members. Kiri, Taijutsu, 4 Jounin, Chunin at random. Weapons. Chijuro and Suichitsu lead a new 7 swordsman group. Chijuro, Suichitsu, and 4 random Jounin, Bei, Ao, and an elder advisor are among the visitors. Iwa, Taijutsu, 6 Jounin, Chunin at random. 4 random Jounin, Chunin weapons. Akatsuchi, Suzumbachi, and 5 Jounin. Visitors include the 4th Tsuchikage, 3 random council members, and 4 shinobi bodyguards. Odo, Taijutsu, 5 Jounin, Chunin at random. Hidden, 3 random Jounin, Chunin. Shin, Kotoheim, Orochimaru, Deidara, and Kakuza. Karin, Arashi, Zetsu Black and White, and Kabuto are among the guests. Tetsu, Mifune and his 4 top samurais. Around 120 people journeyed to the Land of Spring. Unsure of how they would get to the west, they expected several ships to be waiting for them. Each of them was eager to see what the West had in store for them and, of course, were eager to demonstrate their superiority. They couldn't see how they were wrong. In the land of the spring, around noon, everyone had gathered there, of course. All the shinobis had moments of rage and restlessness, seeing their enemies so close and yet powerless to act because their daimyos had agreed to a ceasefire made them nervous. Tsunade definitely groaned when she noticed Orochimaru smirking at her. The Iwa ninjas were enraged at Konoha's presence. Troublesome. Shikamaru said, if the West doesn't do something, a fight will erupt. A voice said, agreed. When the Konoha group turned around, Gaara was leading his. The Konoha group bowed to Kazekage-sama. When Gaara learned that Naruto had been exiled, he became enraged and severed all ties with Konoha. He tried to send his shinobis after Naruto as Sunanin to offer sanctuary. But it was too late. Gaara was depressed because Naruto had vanished. He set out to become Kage for himself and Naruto. Gaara had to fight the urge to sand coffin his body every time he saw Sasuke. It's been a long time, Gaara dono. Tsunade remarked. Gaara just nodded. He was also still irritated with Tsunade for being helpless, while Konoha and Suna mingled for a while, with Shikamaru flirting with Temari. A strange sight to see, the rest of the shinobi villages and the samurai remained separate. A loud ringing noise was soon heard, and everyone turned to see Koyuki standing in front of them all with a loudspeaker. Pay close attention. The ride to the west will take about 10 minutes. Please be prepared and bring everything you need. If you cause trouble, you will be escorted off my property and will miss the tournament. Man, that's the daimyo who's also the main character in the newest and hottest movie ever. Ika Ika Paradise. That's really hot, Atsui stated. What if the ride does not arrive in 10 minutes? And it is a trap, then we'll be stranded here with no allies. And the Amoy kept talking until Samui hit him on the head to silence him. What? Another 10 minutes, hopefully. Nothing will occur. Shizune said this until she looked up at Koyuki. Wait, isn't that correct? She indicated the person standing next to Koyuki. Suna and Konoha, as well as Kumo and Kiri, all turned to look where she was pointing. Everyone recognized him because of his gravity-defying silver hair, a bandana that covered his left eye, a face mask that covered everything but his eye, and carrying the trademark orange book. K-A-K-A-S-H-I, exclaimed the Konoha group. He turned around and looked at them before returning his attention to his book. While Guy was complaining about his ex-hip rival's attitude, everyone else was criticizing his. Tsunade was about to yell for him when he noticed someone she hadn't seen in 7 years. Long white hair, red lines across his face, and a horned forehead protector dipped in kanji oil. Jiraiya had also arrived. Her heart skipped a beat. Maybe she can persuade him to return. Perhaps she'd be able to finally date Jiraiya, even if it meant dealing with his perverted personality. Jiraiya gave a small wave to the Konoha group before noticing Tsunade. He could tell she hadn't slept well by the look on her face. Even though she kept rejecting him, Jiraiya was always concerned about her. He was surprised to see that a glimmer of hope, as well as love, had returned to those brown eyes. Shaking it off, he tapped Kakashi on the shoulder and motioned for him to accompany him to greet Konoha. Kakashi sighed and put his book away, but not before removing his mask and kissing Koyuki on the lips. Koyuki blushed and giggled, but remained composed. He returned his mask and sunshine down to where Konoha was with Jiraiya. What's going on? He inquired casually. Except for Sasuke, Haiki, and Hamura, everyone who cared was staring or pointing at him. Stuttering, finally, Ino was able to speak up. Is that your Koyuki-sama's boyfriend? She screamed. Everyone's gaze was drawn to the man who claimed to be Koyuki's boyfriend. Nope, Kakashi said, causing everyone to face fault. That didn't make sense because he had clearly kissed her. Baka Kakashi, you're playing with her emotions, Sakura yelled, but Kakashi ignored her. My ex-rival. You're so old. You should never play with a maiden's emotions, Guy exclaimed, with Lee standing by his side. Guy, did you say anything? Kakashi inquired, prompting Guy to cry crocodile tears. What are you doing if you're not dating her senpai? Tenzo inquired. She's my fiancé, Kakashi stated casually. When that announcement was made, everyone froze. They had just noticed that Kakashi, like Koyuki, was dressed in fine silk robes. Yes, Jiraiya confirmed. He and Koyuki-sama are planning to marry soon. He even played the male lead in my film. With a perverted grin, he said, What? That's not cool. Atsui moaned. You've already been defeated by that man's move. To attract a woman like her, you must be smooth, like a groove-wrapped bee, who was immediately subjected to A's iron claw. Well, it was nice to see most of you. I need to return to escorting my fiancé, Kakashi said before shunshunning back to her. Jiraiya was about to do the same thing when he felt something tug on his clothes. When he turned around, He was surprised to see Tsunade still holding onto his clothes, except this time she was like a child who had lost her way and was now clinging to him for dear life. "Tsunade Heim?" Jiraiya inquired. Tsunade sobbed. "Please don't leave me. When you left, I had no idea how much you meant to me. After 7 years, I finally get to see you. Don't leave me so quickly now." Jiraiya's heart broke seeing her in this state, so he hugged her, surprising Tsunade. Tsunade would normally punch him for being too affectionate, but this hug felt warm and comforting. "Don't be concerned, my Heim. Everything will be fine. I'll be back soon. I promise." "I'm traveling to the west with Koyuki's group. They were also invited," Jiraiya said before letting her go. Tsunade craved more hugs but knew she had an image to uphold. Jiraiya returned with a teasing smile to where Kakashi was to see Koyuki. "So, after all these years, you finally got the girl of your dreams, eh?" Koyuki teased. Jiraiya simply turned around, not allowing her to see his flushed face. Suddenly, a beeping noise could be heard from her watch. She gave it a quick glance before grinning. "Everyone pay attention." This announcement silenced everyone. The journey to the west has just begun. Everyone turned their gaze to the sea, hoping to see if a boat or ship was approaching. They couldn't see anything and were about to yell that she was making a joke when she simply pointed up. A humming noise could be heard in the skies, so everyone looked up, and jaws dropped all over the place. A large airship descended from the heavens directly in front of them. As the airship touched down in front of them, a platform popped out from the ship, allowing them to board. The ship was opened by a man with yellow hair and stubble. He was wearing goggles and wielding a spear, and his entire aura spoke volumes about him. Here was a man who had been to and fought in many wars. At this airship, everyone became a little afraid of the West. It was common strategy that whoever had the higher ground had the advantage. Here, the West could always have the upper hand. "Okay, punks. My name is Sid. Highwind is the name of this lovely lady, and I'll be your captain for the day." The man formally introduced himself. "I'd like to go over some ground rules with you because I don't want to be your babysitter for too long. First and foremost, do not fight in my ship. 2. Don't irritate me. 3rd, don't mess with my team. 4. Do not enter areas where you are not permitted. Don't think I won't know because I have guards and notification seals. The 5th and most important rule is don't annoy me. Anyone who does not follow these rules while aboard my ship is immediately booted off." "You mean after we land?" Karui inquired. "So we'd have to find another way back home?" "No, I mean literally booted off my ship while it's still flying," Sid clarified. "It'll be about 10 kilometers from the airship to the ground. So I hope you know how to fly if you don't follow my rules." This made everyone pale. Nobody wanted to fall from such a great height, even if there was water below them. "I think it's best if we don't try to spy on the ship for now," the black Zetsu said quietly to the white Zetsu, who nodded. Everyone quickly boarded the ship and proceeded to what appeared to be a storage room. They were astounded that there was enough room for everyone. Amoy was concerned that the ship was a trap, or that they would all fall while falling. And this was just the beginning of his list of extreme concerns. Sid became irritated with him and duct taped his mouth shut, deciding that it wasn't worth kicking someone off just yet. The Kumo group actually thanked him for his assistance. The airship's engine soon started, and everyone could see and hear the ship's blades rotate, making a chopping noise before becoming a hum. The platform was closed, and the airship was launched back into the sky. This made everyone nervous and amazed. After 20 minutes, a melodious ringtone was heard, followed by a voice. "Take note, everyone. This is Shira, your ship's vice captain. You can now move freely around the ship. You can see the view from above if you take the stairs up. Please keep in mind that any room marked staff only should not be entered. If you don't, here's what happens. You'll be kicked off the ship, and I'll have the pleasure of doing so. I've even got a plank for you to walk off before I kick your ass." Sid was interrupted. "You will be forced off the ship in an unpleasant manner." As he stated, "Please, however, enjoy the view," Shira continued. "That is all." Another ringtone signaled the end of the announcement. Everyone exchanged glances before scrambling up the stairs for a bird's eye view. Even though most of them were trained assassins, they couldn't help but wish for a bird's eye view. Many people wished to be able to fly. Sasuke, along with a few others, simply brooded in the storage room. Tsunade took in the scenery, but her first priority was to locate Jiraiya. She finally found him talking to Mei after searching high and low. She walked over to him, her hands shaking. She could tell the woman was flirting with him and didn't want to miss out. She grabbed Jiraiya and stormed away, apologizing and dragging him. Mei was disappointed at the loss of her opportunity. "Don't worry, milady. Ao assured her. That particular moment will never be repeated. I'll make a point of delaying anyone who interrupts your conversation. The moment won't happen, always delayed. Single. The Mizukuge reasoned. That moment when you won't be single will always be delayed. It meant, shut up, Ao, or I'll kill you. Mei threatened, causing Ao to sob. Jiraiya finally had enough of being dragged and healed and stopped Tsunade in her tracks. Tsunade-heim, what's the matter? He inquired. Tsunade whirled around and kissed him hard. So he didn't get an answer. Jiraiya was taken aback by the sudden movement but did not object. Instead, he kissed her back, pushing her up against a wall. They came to a halt when they needed to get some fresh air. I missed you, Tsunade muttered, but don't get used to it. Still, I have an image to uphold. I wouldn't have it any other way. Jiraiya replied, when a commotion drew their attention. They would have kissed again and perhaps found a room to explore further. They turned around to see an Iwa ninja harassing one of the crew members while attempting to enter a restricted zone. Many of the shinobis were watching with bated breath to see how this would be handled. A slim woman with brown hair and glasses then passed by. Please, sir. Do not try to cause any further trouble, and we will disregard this incident, the woman said. Do you think you can summon me? An Iwa Jounin. Return to whoring yourself, slut, said the Iwa nin. Unaware that he had just sealed his fate, a spear flew right into his shoulder, lifting him off the ground and propelling him about 10 feet before pinning him to the wall. Everyone turned to see Sid had thrown it. And he was furious. Nobody dared to stand in his way. So a direct path was formed between him and the idiotic ninja. Sid yanked the spear from his grasp and dragged the Iwa nin along with him. Everyone was watching him to see what would happen. Take out the plank. I'll be able to use it again, Sid stated. The crew members happily agreed, and soon a door with a plank sticking out was opened. Sid compelled the shinobi to step onto the platform by putting Chakra on his feet and sticking to the plank. The shinobi did his best not to fall off. All right, you've broken all 6 of my rules, Sid declared. Everyone was perplexed because he only said 5 words and repeated one of them for emphasis. What's the 6th rule? A random Kumo nin inquired. Don't insult my wife Shira, Sid said, freezing the Iwa nin. He knew he was screwed, but he wasn't going down quietly. Say this is madness if you want to live for 4 more seconds, Sid said before he could do anything. This is madness, said the Iwa nin, perplexed. He had no idea he was creating his own death scene. This is Highwind, exclaimed Sid, recreating a kick he saw in a Spartan movie. He obviously didn't use the same line, but he didn't have any good ones. So he thought the name of his ship was appropriate. The Sparta kick pushed the Iwa nin over the edge and off the ship, as the poor Iwa nin vanished from sight. Everyone looked in horror to see Sid wasn't joking about his threat. He's not going to live through that, a crew member said. Is that the 4th one this month? Inquired another crew member. I win if you pay up. It was interesting to see how the crew members had grown accustomed to their captain's antics. At the very least, he didn't make a shambles the last time some idiot insulted his wife, said the 3rd crew member. Everyone agreed that it would be safer if they avoided any of the crew members. Sid always backs his threats, Jiraiya chuckled. You've been to the West before? Tsunade inquired sharply. Of course, he said, chuckling. They have excellent relationships with Koyuki-sama. It's too bad it wasn't Sasuke. It would have made my life so much easier. Tsunade had no choice but to agree. The same melodious tone rang out again after 2 hours of flight, signaling another announcement. Attention, Shira. Your vice captain is speaking. We'll be in the Imperial City in about 15 minutes. Please remember to bring all of your belongings with you when you disembark from the Highwind. We will not be held liable for any items that are misplaced. Looking through the windows now, you should be able to see the Imperial City approaching. Everyone was eager to see the city. Soon, the clouds parted, revealing the city in all its splendor. It was enormous, far larger than Konoha or any of the shinobi villages. There were so many buildings and streets, and there were towers everywhere. Despite this, the city's busy streets were well organized and beautiful. The scenery was stunning. The Imperial Palace, in all its splendor, stood in the heart of the city. They could see a massive Colosseum on the far right, where they would fight. The Easterners couldn't wait to put their skills to the test against the West, hoping to show them what chakra was all about. Those who were not prepared would learn a painful lesson before disembarking its passengers. The Highwind docked at a building. Everyone flocked to see the wonders of the West, and some had plans to liberate their technology. They were stopped from leaving the building by a group of people wearing blue uniforms. 3 men appeared in front of them. The mere sight of them sent a warning signal to all Easterners, especially the tall white-haired man wielding a 6-foot-long sword. Mifune's blood was boiling with excitement at the prospect of facing such a worthy opponent. "Welcome to the West's Imperial City. Zack is my name," introduced the man with long spiky black hair. "And a prominent widow's peak cloud is the name of the blonde here. And Sephiroth is the name of the white. We are the leaders of the soldier police force. Before you go exploring our city, there are a few rules you should be aware of." Cloud took a step forward after explaining the rules. "Let's start with your assigned quarters. Each village will receive one large house. You can divide the rooms however you want. You cause trouble, we come in and kick you out, and that's the end of the story. The houses are all in the same section of the neighborhood, but far enough apart to provide privacy. The tournament, on the other hand, is in the Colosseum. You'd have to be stupid or really bad with directions to miss it." Zoro sneezed somewhere else. He advised, "We have zero tolerance for those who violate our rules," Zack said. "We'll sick Sephiroth on you if you break them, and it's not going to be pretty." To make a point, Sephiroth drew his sword and slashed a box 12 feet away from him. Most people didn't even notice him swinging. A crowd could be seen approaching. Kumo, Kiri, and Iwa gasped as they got closer, recognizing some of them. "You're alive, Kiritsuchi," exclaimed Akatsuchi. "How?" Tsutomu appeared irritated and terrified. "Tsutomu tried to have me killed so he could become Cage," she spit out. Tsutomu was staring at Akatsuchi with murderous rage. "I only made it out alive because of the Emperor." "Yujiro-chan," Killer Bee said. Samui knocked him away before he could move to hug her. "One-sama." Samui cried out for the first time, despite the fact that they were not blood relatives. Samui looked up to Yujiro and was devastated when she suddenly vanished. There were rumors that Akatsuki had kidnapped and murdered her, but nothing could be proven. "Hey, it's that cat bitch we were hired to kill," Hidden exclaimed. Kumo as a whole turned to look at Hidden. They now knew who was responsible for her capture. "Great job, idiot, on keeping your mouth shut," muttered Kakuza. "They now know who hired you," exclaimed. He was irritated that someone had hit his ninja, especially someone he considered family. "I can tell you that," Yujiro said. "Some members of the civilian council were present. They disliked me and paid Akatsuki to have me killed. The poor civilian councils had to put up with attempting to kill them." Yujiro, thankfully, was able to calm him down and tell him which ones they were. It was fortunate that those who had traveled with them were unaware of it. "Utakata, how did you get to the west?" Mei inquired. "I was ambushed by some strange people with orange hair. I would have been apprehended if it hadn't been for some mysterious assistance," Utakata responded. Two more people stood to the side, awaiting the end of the greetings. Everyone was soon led to the location where they would sleep. The houses were large enough to accommodate each village and had enough beds. As the guides left, one man in a cloak with blonde hair approached Konoha, his gaze fixed on Sasuke in particular. This irritated him, so he chose to respond. "What are you looking for, commoner?" Sasuke scowled, just looking at the man who tried to steal Kanisha's fiancé. The man said, raising an eyebrow and laughing. "That man is unworthy of such a woman. She should be with me." A member of the elite, Sasuke stated. "The last person just laughed when I mentioned it." He had long red hair with a pink tint and green eyes, as well as delicate features. Atsui approached that person, attempting to flirt. "Want to show me around? You look fantastic," Atsui stated. Yujiro grimaced, knowing what was about to happen. "Thank you very much, but you do realize I'm a man, right?" he said. Atsui's face cracked, as did the faces of several shinobi who wanted to ask him out. Mistaking him for a girl, Sai turned to Sakura and said, "Look, even a male outperforms you in terms of beauty, ugly. Perhaps you should go seek advice. Though I doubt it will help, ugly banshee." Sakura wailed and screeched at him. "Please accept my apologies. I have yet to introduce myself. Shuichi is my given name, but I also go by Kurama Tanimoto. The man in the cloak prefers to go by Hermit. Feel free to hang out for a while. Dinner will be served soon, and some of our cooks have volunteered to allow you to sample our various cuisines." Everyone's stomach grumbled at this. Chaoji's was the loudest of the bunch. They had been so nervous and excited about traveling to the west that they had forgotten to eat. Kurama laughed. "In an hour, dinner will be ready. We'll arrive to show you where you'll be eating." After everyone had gone home and settled in, they quickly gathered in the center, where the guides were waiting. They were soon walking towards another building. A few shinobis, including Zetsu, attempted to flee while walking. "I wouldn't leave the group if I were you," Kurama warned without turning around, causing them to stop in their tracks. "We have our eyes on you, and if you try to break those rules, your life is forfeit." One Odo shinobi disregarded the warning and attempted to flee into one of the forbidden zones. A blur passed her before she could even get 10 meters away. The shinobi ran for another 5 meters before being dismembered into 15 body parts. Everyone turned to see a short man with ridiculous spiky black hair, black clothes, and a bloody sword and a white headband had arrived. Was it really necessary to slice the poor woman that many times? Kurama inquired. I sliced her once for every meter she walked. It was appropriate enough, Hiei shrugged. Many of the Eastern shinobi's confidence in winning the tournament began to dwindle. They had been repeatedly shown that Western warriors could easily defeat them. They soon arrived at the dining hall. Everyone sat in their villages, except Samui, who couldn't seem to get away from Yujito. So she sat with Kumo. You're in luck tonight, Kiritsuchi said, because the person cooking for you today is considered one of the best cooks. He's been to so many places and tried so many different foods. The only issue is that the individual is a major female flirt. Soon after, the door opened, and a blonde male in a suit with curly brows emerged. Greetings, my name is Sanji, and I'll be your day's head chef, he said politely as he scanned the crowd. He appeared to be a gentleman until his gaze was drawn to May 1st. He rushed over to her, kneeling and looking at her with hearts for eyes. What beauty, milady, you look stunning. Everything is becoming misty with that mysterious aura and dazzling beauty. Would you like to go out to dinner with me? For once, May appeared embarrassed. She had complained about not being able to find a good man, and yet this person was lavishing her with compliments and attempting to ask her out. A frying pan flew from the kitchen and hit him on the head before she could respond. Sensei, don't abandon us just because we're busy, yelled a redhead with a long white headband. Sanji's response while lying on the ground from the pan was a lot of muttering Mellery. Sorry about that, Soma-kun. Kuruma apologized as he led Sanji back to the kitchen. When they looked inside, they saw chefs getting ready to cook. Yukihira, I'll cook more than you and win, said a man with blonde hair. Bring it on, Takumi, Soma said. HMPH, I'll beat you all with my god's tongue, a blonde beauty replied. Arena, don't make me humble you with my skills, Soma said, making the blonde blush. Shut up, that has absolutely nothing to do with cooking, Arena yelled. Now, let's calm down, an Asian-looking man said. Komatsu was written on his name tag. The food was soon being cooked with such speed and precision. The appetizers were served first. Most of them were initially wary of what they were eating because it didn't look familiar to them. The first bite changed everything. They couldn't get enough of it. Delicious-looking dishes were served at breakneck speed, and they were devoured. One Kiri fool scoffed. He liked the food, but he didn't like how the head chef flirted with May. He decided to make a fool of himself. Oi, chef de cuisine, he exclaimed. Sanji approached him. What do you mean shit food? Everyone came to a halt to observe the commotion. Nobody agreed that the food was bad and couldn't figure out why he was doing it. What is this insect? The shinobi asked loudly, pointing in his soup, attempting to humiliate Sanji. The shinobi had picked up a fly from the floor and placed it inside the soup. I'm sorry, sir, but I can't tell you. I'm not an insect expert, Sanji responded. Everyone tried to keep their laughter to a minimum in response to this comeback. The humiliation was turning the Kiri shinobi red, and he threw his dish at Sanji. It swerved and shattered the fall. Who do you think you are? A lowly cook, he growled. May and Al were about to reprimand their own shinobi for his behavior when Sanji spoke up first. You could have simply removed the fly from the soup. It was still edible. There is no need to throw away food, Sanji replied, his eyes obscured by shadows. Shut up and die, yelled the shinobi, punching him before anyone could even stop the man. They witnessed another shocking scene. The Kiri shinobi was doused in his own blood 20 seconds later, his face beaten to a pulp. He was directly supported by one of Sanji's legs. What surprised them was that the cook was only using kicks to beat the ninja. Wait, is that all? Sanji inquired, pulling a cigarette from his pocket. He pushed the man aside and returned to the kitchen. The shinobi was barely conscious, but he refused to give up. He charged towards Sanji with a kunai in hand, intent on stabbing him. Sanji abruptly vanished from the man's sight, perplexing him. Then he heard Sanji mutter from the side, anti-manner kick course. The shinobi felt a powerful kick up his spine before he could respond. He was in so much pain that he didn't notice his body collapsing and falling through the ceiling. I guess he didn't need desert, Sanji said calmly as he lit his cigarette. Soma peered into the kitchen to see what was going on. Guys, Soma said, head chef Sanji just knocked someone out of the mess hall again. Which kick was it this time? Komatsu inquired. Given that the hole is at the ceiling this time, it's most likely the anti-manner kick course one. Idiot most likely insulted him and threw away food in front of him, Takumi stated. The Easterners were becoming increasingly concerned. After only one day in the West, they were completely exposed. For crying out loud, their cook could beat a shinobi. The desert arrived soon after. As the shinobis and samurais finished their meals, Sanji emerged, flirting with any woman he saw. Nobody was surprised when he skipped Sakura, causing her to screech once more. Shikamaru, on the other hand, thought it was too much trouble and used his shadow possession jutsu on her, knocking her out onto the wall. Sanji-kun, could I get a refill for myself and my younger sister Samui? Yujito stated. Yugitochwannnhii. Swan Samui as he whirled away to get a refill. He's weird, Samui grumbled. That he is, but he still cooks delicious food, even though he flirts frequently. He remains a gentleman, Yujito responded. Mei's eyes were still a little hazy after Sanji's compliment. A man with the ability to cook, be sweet, and even fight. His flirting could be improved, but he was still one of the best men she'd ever met. The West has some fine men, Mei said, licking her lips. Her party began to disperse, knowing she was on the lookout for men tonight. The shinobis and samurais were about to leave after dinner when one of them inquired about the fate of the Kiri ninja. I had almost forgotten about him, Sanji stated. I've already called the hospital to report that someone insulted and wasted food again, Irina said as she stepped outside with Soma in her arm. Thank you, Irina-san. Sanji smiled, surprising the Easterners. They were certain he would hit on her because Irina was also a lovely lady. Only single women are targeted by the pervert. He gets frustrated when women are in relationships, but he knows how to respect them, I said as he walked to the door with Hermit and opened it wide. Sanji had returned to where he had launched the Kiri nin. He took a few steps back before doing a few forward flips. On his final flip, he yelled mountain shot and launched a single kick. The Kiri nin descended from the sky, right into Sanji's kick. He flew out the door and out into the distance. Okay, he'll be at the hospital. You can have him back by tomorrow if he finishes his treatment, Kurama stated. Return to the Imperial Palace. 2 shinobis dead and 1 in the hospital on the first day, muttered Naruto as he rummaged through some paperwork. Neji and Maru had come to pay a visit and lend a hand. I'm surprised the Uchiha hasn't done anything stupid yet, Maru observed. Don't worry, he'll be humiliated at the tournament, Neji said. Ryaz and Paku aren't happy that their little girl was mocked. Did they agree to it, by the way? Yeah, Naruto agreed. This tournament is going to be exciting. The Easterners were led back to their respective homes and allowed to sleep. They were all having second thoughts about winning the tournament, except for a few select individuals, such as Sasuke and Heike. Sasuke believed that everything belonged to him, whereas Heike simply believed that fate would grant him victory. Both had a large log launched in their asses. Morning had arrived, and the Easterners were waking up. Some of them were heading to the training fields that the guides had shown them earlier. The afternoon passed, and the guides returned. We've been ordered to give you a tour of our hospital and our combat school, both of which are located in our village. You'll be able to see what makes our community unique, Kurama stated. However, you can only pick one because we're leaving at the same time. The groups were quickly divided, with the medical teams interested in the hospital and the combat teams interested in the schools. Okay, I'll take the lead on the hospital tour. The school's tour guide will arrive soon, Kurama stated. Everyone noticed a woman with scarlet hair approaching. Some were perplexed by her attire, which included body armor and a skirt, the spiral on her breastplate, the same insignia that was on Konoha's flak jacket on their back, drew many of them in. New way. Impossible. We annihilated them all during WWII. The woman came to a halt in front of them and bowed. Greeting. Urza is my name. Urza Uzumaki of the Uzumaki clan, she stated calmly. You said Yu Uzumaki? Tsunade inquired. Yes, when Kiri, Kumo, and Iwa banded together with some minor villages to destroy our village during the Second Shinobi War. A group of us fled to the west. The majority of our warriors died, but not before we had eliminated nearly all of our opponents. In fact, it is Konoha who owes us debts from assisting in the creation of their village to many others. Debts that they did not appear to be interested in repaying based on our observations of a certain Uzumaki. Urza frowned. Some Konoha ninjas hid their faces in shame, while others did not. HMPH. If you're referring to the Dobe, don't bother. He was garbage, and he belonged on the bottom of my soles. Licking my feet, Sasuke boasted. Urza's sword was right at his neck, he realized. When did she get a sword and move? She was unarmed, exclaimed many of the shinobi. One thing is certain. Uchiha scum, Uzumaki values family. A crime committed against one is a crime committed against all. Urza scowled, wanting to sever his throat. Urza, calm down. He hasn't done anything yet to merit such treatment in the Empire, Kurama stated. Our job is to be tour guides. Urza scowled but followed orders. She slashed his cheeks before turning away. She takes the school tour while Kurama stays behind. In conjunction with the hospital tour, Tsunade and many other leading shinobi healers were curious about the type of healing available in the West. They got to the main hospital. The Talisman of Life is a seal provided by the Uzumaki clan. The seal helps to delay any illness or infection caused by wounds while also increasing patient regeneration, Kurama elaborated. They were all drooling over that seal just by reading that sentence. Do you only have them in this hospital? Inquired Ino. Oh no. It's in every hospital, Kurama responded, making their jaws drop. This alone gives the West a significant advantage in the medical field. Kurama continued to lead the way. Tsunade was enthralled by the introduction of morphine. The ability to perform surgery without the patient feeling pain would be extremely beneficial because they would no longer flinch. A Konoha nin in the civilian council's pocket couldn't take it any longer. In the name of Konoha, I demand that you release all of your knowledge in order for Konoha to grow stronger. Everyone looked at the shinobi in disbelief. Tsunade was furious that someone had the audacity to challenge her authority. Shinobi, keep your mouth shut. As the Hokage of the Leaf Village, I command you to retract that statement and apologize, or your status will be terminated immediately. Looking down at Tsunade, the shinobi held his chin up. Being the council's shinobi had brought him numerous advantages as well as unfathomable arrogance. He was confident that Tsunade's decision would be reversed, and that the council would praise him for bringing in wealth from the West. Does that mean this shinobi is no longer a Konoha nin? Kurama wondered. Tsunade nodded when he noticed the shinobi was not obeying. He lifted his hair and pulled out a rose that he had hidden in it. What are you going to do? Hand me a rose and hope it pricks me? The ex-Konoha nin laughed. Something along those lines, Kurama replied. He slashed his hand with the rose before raising it. Suddenly, the rose transformed into a thorny whip, wrapping around the shinobi and pricking him in several places. Mokuten, thought Tsunade. No, it doesn't feel that way. I was joking, of course. Please let me go, the man begged as he tried to cut the whip with his kunai only to find it ineffective. My whip is strong enough to cut through steel. Regarding your request, I'm afraid I'll have to decline it, Kurama said angrily before drawing his whip. The man was immediately slashed into pieces. Are there any more hiccups before we continue? Kurama inquired as if nothing had occurred. Nobody dared to speak up. At the combat academy, Urza had led the other group to their combat school, where they saw many children of various ages practicing katas, seemingly following a man with a long braided ponytail known as Q. It would appear normal, except that all of the students appeared to be extremely focused and followed the katas in unison, with no obvious mistakes. The teacher himself was flawless, and everyone could tell he was a fighting master. The teacher approached the students after they had finished. Hello, Master Wang Fei Hung. These are the Eastern visitors to our city until the tournament, Urza said as she bowed in respect to him. He returned the bow before greeting the group. Hello and welcome to Pokai Lam Academy. I am the school's principal. They were surprised that the teacher was a headmaster of all people. As you can see, our academy is organized around skill sets and maturity rather than age groups. It is our responsibility to evaluate students each year to determine whether they should advance to the next level or remain. The starting age is 7, and anyone who wants to join is welcome. Of course, if a student does not perform well enough, we will gladly discuss other career options. The academy teaches all the basics for up to 3 academic years, including the usual academic skills, but it also helps build a strong body and mind. We also emphasize teamwork. So instead of having graduated shinobis perform D-ranked missions, we have our students do it. It will be taken by a group of 3 students, and who goes with whom will be determined at random. After all, it is necessary to learn to adapt and meet new people. When a student graduates from the academy, they can choose which field they want to pursue. Most professions have continuing education academies, such as Soldier Camp and Shinobi Academy, while others are apprenticed by masters. Some of them were impressed with the system and were considering attempting to replicate it. Akumo Shinobi, on the other hand, felt a strong nationalism towards his village and believed theirs was the strongest. He observed the headmaster and felt confident that he could easily defeat him. He could prove to everyone that Kumo was the best if he defeated him. Please excuse me, Mr. Headmaster. I'd like to compete with you to see who is the best, Kumo Shinobi stated. What exactly did you say? We've given you a tour guide, and you want to ruin it for the sake of your ego. Get ready to be punished. Urza snarled. Her body suddenly glowed, and her armor vanished in a flash of light, when she suddenly appeared to be wearing completely different armor. The majority of the tour group assumed she was simply stripping. Heaven's wheel armor, exclaimed she. Swords appeared out of nowhere and floated around her. She was about to attack the braggart when the headmaster raised his hand. It's all right. I don't mind, but, he cried Urza. I was going to Ryazanpaku to spar anyways. Might as well do it here, he stated. The crowd moved, allowing a circle to form between the Kumo Nin and the headmaster. Urza decided to referee. She stated the usual spar rules. Taijutsu only. As she threw her hand down, the shinobi ran forward, intent on ending this. That was his last thought before he was knocked unconscious. It seemed to happen in slow-mo for the viewers. The shinobi had been running into the headmaster at what seemed to be his top speed. Wang Feiheng shifted his body so his right leg was facing his enemy. All of a sudden, a barrage of kicks from his right leg shot out, hitting the shinobi all over his body. He ended it by jumping into the air and back-kicking the shinobi with his left. The Kumo Nin was in a daze before he fell unconscious. The tour group felt a chill up their spines. Those kicks were so fast that they swore there had been no shadows when he kicked. Urza ignored the man in pain and continued with the tour. After everyone had gotten back from the tours, each village went into their respective dorms to share what they had learned. It wasn't pretty, for it seemed that the Imperial West was ahead of them in education styles, medicine, and technology. Their only hope was to try to form an alliance with the West and hope that they would be willing to share their resources. Tsunade herself was hoping to see Naruto again. The big day had arrived. The tournament began with the launch of fireworks into the sky. Normally, tournaments last about 5 days. But because more people had been invited, everyone was ecstatic. The Colosseum was packed with citizens and visitors from all over the Western world, while the Easterners had a reserved seat. The cages who were not competing in the tournament were invited to sit with Koyuki, who had a personal seat with Kakashi and Jiraiya near a seemingly empty box. Orochimaru and Tsutomu declined, while Tsunade, Gaara, and Mei accepted. A large plot of land lay in the center of the Colosseum. It was 4 times larger than Konoha's stadium. A woman in the center wore cute clothes and had fox ears and tails. Is that a fox girl? Mei inquired. One of the room's guards nodded. Do you guys accept demons? I inquired. We make no distinctions between them. They have the same right to life as we do. After all, you had no problems with, a guard said. This surprised them all because they hadn't even realized he was one. Before they could say anything, the guard raised his hand to silence them and pointed to the center, indicating that it was beginning. Dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kodo, and for the next few days, I'll be the announcer. As you may have noticed, the tournament format this year is different. Instead of our brave fighters bashing each other's guts, we've invited people from across the border to bashing their brains out as well. This year, our empire held preliminary competitions and chose 6 participants to compete on this stage. But first, let me introduce you to our judges. They are one of the empire's most powerful factions. Nobody ever fights them without getting injured. Even their number 1 disciple is taking part in this tournament. Please accept my greetings. Ryozanpaku. The Easterners scanned the floor entrances, hoping to spot them. There was a huge impact in the middle of the ground all of a sudden. The Easterners were taken aback by the sudden appearance and demanded to know where they came from because they hadn't even noticed them near the entrances. Their surprise was compounded when they discovered that the members had literally jumped into the Colosseum from above. The dust cloud cleared, revealing 7 figures posing, wearing Power Ranger masks. 5 of them appear to be excited. 1 appears to be unconcerned, and the last appears to be embarrassed. Blue Ryazan, Shio Sakaki. Ryazan white, exclaimed Ryazan. Green, Ryazan. Ryazan Apapa, exclaimed Ryazan. Apache. You're supposed to say yellow, Green said quietly. I'm sorry, yellow Ryazan. Ryo ... San ... pink, says Ryo. Ryazan black was slightly embarrassed to be doing this in front of everyone. We are the RYOZANPAKUTOKUSENTAI as a group, and our commander-in-chief is GARYUX. The man was enormous and muscular. Some of the members made me feel slightly threatened. He was supposed to be the most manly and have the biggest muscles. But now there were several whose muscles appeared comparable. Everyone applauded Ryazanpaku's arrival because they were known for their martial arts. Wang Feiheng was one of the additional referees invited, and the other was a surprise to the visitors. This person, who had red hair, appeared to be dressed in the manner of a jester. He had a teardrop drawing on one cheek and a star drawing on the other. And for our final referee, let me introduce you to one of the Uzumaki clan's elders. Uzumaki Hisoka Aka the magician. How many Uzumaki managed to flee our damn invasion? We lost almost all of our forces trying to wipe them out. Tsutomu and many of his shinobi thought. Now that we've introduced our referees, will all competitors come down to the middle so everyone can see you while we give you your instructions? Kodo asked. All of the competitors were soon on the field. Some were nervous, while others were at ease, while Sakura cheered him on. Sasuke appeared smug, believing he would easily win this tournament and demonstrate what it means to be an elite. Sakura never got over her fangirl habit, so she never received training from Tsunade or did anything to improve her strength. She was still under the impression that sweat was disgusting and that she shouldn't eat much, after her friends and family brutally beaten her fan streak. Ino was fortunate to become Tsunade's apprentice, as the Taijutsu contestants were announced. Several television screens flashed on, displaying each contestant's name, picture, and village for the audience to see. The Easterners realized who was representing the West for the first time. Kanishi Shirahama, Hoshi Ryu, Lockhart, Tifa, Luffy, Monkey D, Hyuga, Neji. What the heck? The Konohanins all did a double take when they heard the last name that represented the West. He had vanished around the same time Naruto was exiled, but they didn't believe he was still alive. They all scanned the crowd and noticed Neji talking with Kanishi. He'd grown a lot taller since they'd last seen him. He was dressed in a white long-sleeved shirt and white pants, with a blue bandana on his brow. Hayashi simply smiled, relieved that his nephew was still alive. If he was alive, the chances of the rest of his family being alive were very good. However, Heike sneered. This was the errant branch Hyuga who needed to be punished. He wanted to activate the seal right away, but decided it would be foolish. That, along with proper humiliation, was required to install the branch member. Okay, everyone's here now. It's time to see who will go up against who. Keep in mind that this is a 2-day tournament. What will happen is that we will have multiple fights at the same time, explained Kodo. The floor rumbled as expected, and 9 platforms rose from the ground. Each platform was a standard flat surface arena found in tournaments, large enough for one-on-one fights and with enough room to run around. We're going to have 9 referees working at each arena to make this tournament go faster so the audience doesn't have to snooze. There are 36 competitors. That means there will be at least 18 matches today. Following that, we'll take a 30-minute break to allow the fighters to be treated by our medical staff before proceeding to the second round. After the second round, the fighters who have fought their way up through these rounds will draw numbers that will qualify them for the next day's tournament. Todo declared. First and foremost, let us greet our emperor and his beloved consort, who made this day possible. She pointed to an empty box near the cages. When she pointed to the box, it was empty, and then a yellow flash appeared. The Iwanins froze as they remembered a certain Namikaze who had done the same thing. The emperor wore golden yellow robes with a dragon insignia, as well as a black mantle. He wore a hat similar to those worn by cages and a face mask that covered the bottom half of his face. However, his blue eyes could still be seen. His consort was dressed in a white silk kimono that emphasized her figure. She wore a fan over her face and sunglasses so no one could see her eyes. That's the man who thwarted our attacks on the Jinchurikis, Kakuza growled. They had no idea he was the emperor at the time, just a huge pest who was interfering with their leader's plans. So, that's the emperor. Now I have to persuade him to join me and position myself so that I can take over his body, mused Orochimaru. Does this man descended from the cursed Namikaze? Sumoto growled softly. We must eliminate him when we get the chance. Kara recognized him as the man who had once saved him from Akatsuki's attack on the village and decided to form an alliance with him. He had 2 main reasons for this. The first was as a thank you for saving him, and the second was a desperate attempt to find Naruto. If Neji was here, it's possible Naruto was as well. Bei simply licked her lips at another man who seemed deserving. If only he wasn't married. Anyway, forming an alliance, military or not, would be beneficial to them. But was thinking about forming an alliance with Mei. Tsunade knew she only had one chance to convince the West to support Konoha. Konoha was doomed if she blew her chance. Something about the Emperor's eyes, however, seemed familiar. Everyone in the audience cheered as the Emperor waved his hand, demonstrating their devotion to him. All right, now that the Emperor has arrived, let's get this fight started. Fighters, please proceed to your designated arena as indicated on the board. Those who are not fighting in this first half, please stand on the sidelines, Kodo said. 9 matches were soon ready to begin. Naruto noticed that Kanishi had been assigned to Arena 5, while Neji had been assigned to Arena 9. He decided to concentrate on those fights. All right, the fighters have arrived at the arenas. Will the judges now go to an arena to judge? Judges, what's the matter? Ryzen Paku, why are you huddled up like that? Kodo inquired. Sorry, we're debating who gets to judge Arena 5. Sakaki explained. He was no longer wearing his mask like the rest of them. Only the elder Furinji seemed adamant about wearing his. I should get the right. He tried to kidnap my daughter, exclaimed Seiga, because Miu is my granddaughter. I should have the right, the elder explained. Papa, if he does something wrong, I'll judge him there and lightly beat him to death. Apache said. Miu is a female, Shigeru stated. I should be given the right to judge. Now, calm down, Akasama said, because two of you will have in-laws with one of the competitors. You two should not be the referee due to potential bias. Apache. You have no idea how to hold back. You could possibly distract them. Sakaki drinks too much. And Kensei wants to pass judgment on Tifa-san, so I should be the most reasonable referee. Stop talking. Akasame, you simply want to be the referee for the same reason that the rest of us do. That jerk tried to steal Miu, whom we all consider to be our daughter. Sakaki said, there's only one way to find out who gets to judge. Isn't there? In addition, I want to be the one to judge in that arena. Like Sakaki said, Miu is one of us. Kensei said. Everyone nodded in agreement. The Easterners held their breath, waiting for them to do something, only to faceplant into the ground. Raya and Paku had just announced that they were going to play rock, paper, scissors. Are they idiots? Kiba wondered. Shino simply coughed lightly. What happened next, however, put them to shame and shocked them with how extreme their version was. Janken, exclaimed the entire Raya and Paku. At this point, their hands were in the air. Poon, as they threw their hands down. Their hands alternated between the three options at breakneck speed, while throwing their choices. Their eyes shone fiercely like laser eyes. In terms of hand speed, the Shinobis couldn't perform as many hand seals as them. What, even at my fastest? I can't make that many changes in my choices when I play rock, paper, scissors. A reasoned. A dust blew out from the source at the end of the pawn. Hee. I tried to take advantage of you reading me while you were reading me while I was reading you all. Sakaki explained. In the end, only Apache threw without thinking, Kensei said. Everyone had chosen rock, except Apache, who had chosen paper. No, I chose paper as well, the elder replied. Apache and the elder squared off, both agreeing that the choice was between them. They locked gazes, ready to argue over who would be the referee, until the elder appeared from nowhere with a bowl of jelly beans. Apache, I'll give you this bowl of candy if you let me be the referee for Arena 5. Okay, exclaimed Apache. The rest of Raya and Paku just made a test sound before deciding on an arena at random. All right, competitors, remember to pay attention to your proctor. If your opponent forfeits, you may not do anything else to them. You lose if you are knocked out of the ring and fall to the ground. There will be no genjutsu or long-range ninjutsu in this taijutsu match. Chakra can be used if it is channeled through the hand on contact, as in Gentle Fist, or as an internal booster. If you are unsure whether your close-range ninjutsu is permitted, simply ask before you fight. As a body enhancer, any dijutsu is permitted, but no genjutsu through the eyes is permitted. We'll find out if you do. Let the battle begin. Arena 5. HMPH. I never imagined I'd have the opportunity to finally show the bitch what a true elite is. After I defeat you, I'll take her as my prize, along with a few select women to repopulate my clan, like Arena. Sasuke mocked. I would never let you win. Plus, you'd have to try to persuade her grandfather, which seems impossible. Kenichi said, striking a fighting pose. HMPH, as if I have to be concerned about some old man. I belong to the elite. He should be pleading with me to take his daughter. Sasuke said, Now. The time for chit-chat is over. Now is the time to fight, the elder said. It was amazing how much he kept his temper in check. That brat Sasuke would be cosmic dust in less than a femtosecond if he had the chance. Sasuke simply scoffed as he activated his Sharingan and entered his Uchiha clan familiar Interceptor Fist. Nothing else could compare. Are you ready, boys? Asked the elder. Begin. Kenichi dashed forward at breakneck speed, surprising Sasuke. His Sharingan had barely read his path, so he blocked the knee aimed at his body. HMPH, you're fast, but my eyes can see right through you, trash. Sasuke was unable to finish because Kenichi suddenly became stronger. Even when guarded, Kenichi pierced it with a massive vertical kick. Nuki Koroi. This was one of Kenishi's most powerful moves, taught to him by the elder himself. As he flew off the arena, Sasuke found himself coughing up blood from the attack. His ribs were nearly broken. Shirahama Kenichi is the winner of Arena 5. By the way, excellent work. It's good to know my future grandson-in-law can protect my granddaughter. The elder chuckled. You, I'll kill you, yelled Sasuke as he prepared to flash some hand signs. The elder had already moved in front of him before he realized it. Stop, you've lost. Don't embarrass yourself, the elder grumbled. Sasuke didn't seem to notice and was about to charge ahead when he tripped. What the? Said Sasuke, dazed from his tripping. Now. Just slowly get up, the elder said. Sasuke attempted to stand, only to stumble again. once more, at the cage stand. What's going on down there? What is causing him to stumble? Did he really take that much damage? Tsunade wondered. Koyuki chuckled before instructing the guard to bring up a television set for them. There's a reason the Elder Furinagi is the strongest. The real reason Sasuke is tripping is because he keeps kicking him. What? Impossible. In that case, let us watch a replay of the Elder in front of Sasuke, Koyuki suggested. They watched the video at 1 divided by 10th speed and didn't notice anything until it reached 1 divided by 1000 speed. Then they noticed his right leg moving in a blur. They were astounded by the Elder's kicking speed. That's all. Screw the other reasons. I'm forming an alliance with the West. They're too powerful to be enemies. All the cages in the booth agreed. It was unfortunate for Orochimaru and Tsumoto that they didn't know what was causing Sasuke's lack of coordination, because they would have done the same thing. Finally, Sasuke had had enough and sulked off to the sidelines. The Elder simply chuckled before shifting his gaze to the other matches. Meanwhile, Naruto was laughing with Hinata while holding her. He should have expected the Elder to do this after insulting his own granddaughter. He looked over to Arena 9 and saw Neji kicking Haiki's buttocks around the same time that Arena 5 began its match. Arena 9 began its match, so the escaped branch member has arrived at the West. You should give up and return with us to face judgment, Haiki advised. Neji simply assumed the gentle fist-fighting posture. What's the matter? You're afraid to talk, mocked Haiki. Meanwhile, Hisoka simply gave the signal to begin. Haiki didn't even notice the signal until he received 128 palm strikes to the body. 128 palms. 8 trigrams. After inflicting so much damage, Neji walked away calmly, only turning around when Haiki stood up again. You cretin. You are beneath me, Hayashi's daughters and you. I will inherit the Hyuga. And we don't need stray dogs like you. You should die like the stray dog you are. Activate. Haiki made the caged bird hand sign to activate the seal. He was very skilled at it after using it to rape members of his own clan and threaten others. Hayashi stood up and was about to scold Haiki when he noticed Neji wasn't even moving. He was actually smirking. What's the deal with the seal not working? Haiki yelled, repeatedly attempting to activate the seal as Neji approached. Perhaps because I don't have the seal anymore, Neji explained as he removed his headband, exposing his bare forehead. Hayashi felt hopeful when he saw this. The solution to removing the cursed seal and finally uniting the family lay in these lands. But Haiki had a different feeling. Impossible. You're still beneath me. Die. Haiki lunged at him, oblivious to the fact that all of his tenketsus were still closed. Your loss, Kaiten said to Neji as he spun to form a blue dome. Haiki collided with it and flew out of the arena. Fortunately, Hisoka used his power to shoot a sticky gum onto Haiki before he could crash land. It appears that Neji Hyuga has won this round. This other one has no potential at all, Hisoka observed. The other matches were completed quickly, and the remaining 18 contestants entered the arenas. Ryu was fighting Kumo Nin named C this time, while Tifa was fighting Sakura. Naruto couldn't stop laughing at this. Tifa is going to take over the bitch. She has no chance if our spy network is correct, Naruto said. Kurama inside Naruto was giggling, as was Hinata, who was overjoyed that Sakura was finally going to pay for all the abuse she heaped on Naruto. Miu had already attacked her, but she wanted a front row seat to it. They both agreed that Cloud needed to propose soon, even though no one was going to steal her away. They were far too close for that. And Tifa wasn't exactly weak. Naruto noticed the last Western representative stretching a little. Luffy was battling some random Odo opponent. Naruto could already hear his wife Nami encouraging him and urging him to win the tournament. Naruto exhaled a sigh. Luffy was probably one of the strongest fighters and the captain of his ship, but he was easily manipulated by Nami. It wasn't so much that Luffy couldn't fight her as he didn't want to, so he usually obeyed her whims, which were mostly monetary in nature. Of course, Luffy didn't let her roll over him all the time. He was usually in charge of major decisions. In the meantime, the Imperial Palace entrance hall. The Zetsu had entered the palace in order to gather information about the Emperor. Well, that wasn't difficult to enter. Yeah, you're right, the Zetsus said to one another. The shadows all around them moved at once before they even took a step. Members of the Brotherhood emerged from the shadows one by one. I warned you the first time. You didn't seem to want to listen to our instructions, so you'll die as punishment. Before the Zetsus could do anything, they were hit with arrows, daggers, and swords. The Zetsus attempted to flee, but all escape routes were blocked and sealed. How did you notice us? Nobody can spot us that easily, exclaimed the Zetsu. The Brotherhood took a step back to allow them to enter. I am extremely sensitive to plants because they are my power. You've been in my domain since you walked in. He began to transform all of a sudden. On top of that, he developed white hair and fox ears. My real name is Yoko Kirama, even after hearing my warnings. You have trespassed. Your body will be converted into nutrients from my plants. Vines began to grow from Zetsu's arms as he made this statement. All they could do was stand there and die. Return to the Colosseum. The fight, well, it really couldn't be called that. One of the matches was more of a slaughterhouse. Tifa was pounding the crap out of Sakura. Tifa was disgusted after hearing stories about Sakura's abuse and her attitude toward being a kunoichi. Taijutsu is a fangirl on a diet, which is something no one in her position should be doing. Sakura, of course, imagined herself to be powerful. It was a miracle she became a chunin. Oh wait. Her mother bribed people to get her in. Tifa, disgusted, decided to send a message to Sakura, one that involved her breaking a number of bones. Let me punch you, you big-titted cow, Sakura exclaimed, continuing to miss. She was obviously envious of Tifa's beauty and body. Tifa was being photographed by Kensei, the referee. He tried to persuade her to fight in a bikini, but she turned him down faster than Naruto could get ramen. No thanks, bitch, Tifa said as she punched her in the ribs once more, breaking the fourth one. This is becoming tedious. I'm calling it quits. She shook Sakura's brain with a somersault kick to the chin. She then charged at her, pounding on every part of her body until Kensei called a halt. The Ryu vs. C match, on the other hand, was quite good. C had a good taijutsu level and played defensively, striking only when necessary. Ryu, on the other hand, was used to counter styles and finished with a Shinku Tatsumaki Senpukyaku. Luffy caught his opponent with a single right cross. It didn't help that his opponent made fun of his hat and wife. After a 30-minute break, the medics arrived to treat anyone who had been injured. Many of them were reluctant to approach Konoha, but the head medic Aerith decided to approach them. She was accompanied by Rinoa, Squall, and, to their surprise, Kensei and Akasama as doctors. Fortunately, no one attempted anything too stupid. Sasuke was still brooding about power, while Sakura remained unconscious. Kiba attempted to flirt with Rinoa, but was met with a blade to the face and a warning. She laughed as she hugged her husband and tried to comfort him, while Kiba did his best not to piss himself. After 30 minutes, all competitors were completely healed, which astounded them. Being able to heal so many people in such a short period of time, especially during wartime, has the potential to turn the tides. Orochimaru was already planning how to persuade one of them to accompany them and share this knowledge with his army. His best bet was to steal a body, but that might be difficult, especially given the security. But he was curious about Zetsu's whereabouts. He should have returned by now. Naruto cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention. Thank you all for coming on such a beautiful day. We've seen 36 people compete to represent their village. Only 18 people have earned the right to advance to the next round. Let the next rounds begin without further ado. Everyone applauded their beloved emperor. Nobody noticed a shadow move behind Naruto. A Brotherhood assassin appeared and whispered something to him before disappearing. What was that about, my dear husband? Hinata inquired. That was just confirmation that someone attempted to break into our home despite our warnings. We'll send a warning to all of them once the day is done. The competitors entered their respective arenas. Naruto decided to pay closer attention to his fighters, and noticed that Luffy was fighting Choji, Ryu was fighting Tifa, Neji was fighting Kiri Nin, and Kanishi was fighting Sumsuna Nin. The only thing that interested him on Konoha was the fight between Kiba and Lee. Perhaps the fight with Ryu and Tifa will show them how hopelessly outmatched they are, Naruto thought as he decided to lean back and enjoy the show. Luffy vs. Choji in Arena 2. Choji had won his previous match by surprising his opponent by stretching his arm and slamming him away. He had a feeling he'd have a tough time against one of the Western fighters. Luffy was simply stretching his legs for a few moments. The Papa, you are aware of the rules. Fight, exclaimed Apache. Choji used his technique to enlarge his fist and threw it at Luffy, who avoided it. Shihei, so you can expand your body parts as well. Luffy chuckled. Choji paused for a moment to consider this. Are you also waiting? While his body was still 5 feet away, Luffy threw his fist out. Choji was perplexed until he was punched in the face. He stumbled back from the blow. What? How did you hit me from such a long distance? Choji stated. Easy, I'm a rubber man, Luffy replied, stretching his cheeks all around to demonstrate how rubbery he was. Troublesome. Choji is in trouble, Shikamaru said. How so? Choji may still have a chance to hurt him, Ino speculated. Brute force will not harm rubber. A Hyuga might be able to handle him. But Chaoji only knows brute force. He'll have a difficult time convincing Luffy to give up. At best, he has to force him out of the ring. Shikamaru explained. Chaoji appeared to have heard Shikamaru. As he used full body expansion and attempted to use the human bullet tank, Luffy paused before inserting his thumb into his mouth. Most of the visitors from the east would have laughed if Luffy's arm hadn't suddenly grown to the size of Chaoji's body. "Gamu Gamu no Giganto pistol," yelled Luffy as he made a fist with his giant hand. It clashed with Chaoji's technique, causing Chaoji to fly out of the arena and allowing Luffy to win. "Shihihi, not bad," Luffy said, squatting at the arena's edge. "What did you eat to get so strong?" Chaoji asked, still trying to keep the world from spinning. "By always having the most important food every day," Luffy said solemnly, drawing Chaoji in a little closer. "Meat." Most people who heard this face criticized it, but Chaoji had stars for eyes. They were soon talking about how much they could eat and how they would compete in an eating contest. Arena 7. Since their names were announced, this was the most anticipated match in the preliminary round. Before striking a fighting pose, both fighters faced each other and bowed in respect. "Show me your strength," Ryu said. "Let's get this party started," Tifa said. "All right, you are aware of the rules," Wang Fei hung. Their proctor yelled, "Fight." Jabs were launched at high speeds, and counters were launched in response. The kicks came in lightning fast. All of the Eastern visitors could see how outclassed the majority of them were. In all honesty, the only one who could possibly stand a chance in their group was Lee or Guy, using 7 or even 8 gates. When compared to the other matches, this one was the longest. Ryu made his move after 55 minutes of non-stop fighting. When all of the other matches had already ended, both fighters were covered in bruises, so he only had one chance to get it right. He ducked under Tifa's fist before punching her in the stomach with his left hand. Tifa was out of breath after that single move. But it wasn't the end. Ryu's right fist landed a solid hit on her chin before launching her into the air. Ryu yelled "Shin Shoryuken" as he finished the jumping uppercut. Tifa flew up in the air after that devastating hit, but she recovered by flipping and landing on her feet. Instead of becoming enraged, she smiled and congratulated Ryu on his victory. The Colosseum shook with applause and cheers. A majority of people were pleased with the exciting tournament. However, a small number of people on the eastern side were dissatisfied. Uchiha Sasuke, in particular, he had tried to activate his Sharingan in the hopes of stealing all the techniques, but he was completely unable to replicate the West styles and chakra flow because it was too complicated for him to follow through. Worse, when he tried to steal from the other villages, they complained. Eris approached and slapped him with a seal she obtained from Hisoka, effectively shutting it down for the time being. To make matters worse, Hisoka provided the seal with a special texture disguise that camouflaged the seal, matching the exterior with the same color as his skin. The seal would move around on his body, making it difficult to remove. She promised that it would end when the final tournament began, but not before. How was he supposed to get stronger and kill Itachi if these scumbags stopped him? He wanted to seduce some of the strong women, such as Miu and Tifa, but this tournament was making him look foolish. He would be patient. After all, they couldn't keep him from fulfilling his destiny, he reasoned. Naruto stood up, still dressed in emperor garb that concealed his face, to make an announcement. Will all competitors who pass the preliminary round make their way to the front to draw lots? Kenichi, Neji, Ryu, Luffy, Guy, Lee, Akumo Nin, Suna Nin, and Iwa Nin advanced to the front. They quickly drew numbers and were assigned to positions on the fighting tournament table. First Suna, second Kenichi, third Neji, fourth Lee, fifth Iwa, sixth Ryu, seventh Guy, eighth Kumo, ninth Luffy. "All right, folks. It appears that Luffy Senju has been seated," Kodo announced. "Match 1 is 1v2. Match 2 is 3v4, and so on. Fighters 7 and 8 will fight first, giving them enough time to rest before facing Fighter 9. Simply ask a representative or look at the table if you have any questions. Good night and good rest, everyone. Tomorrow, we'll see who walks away with 100 million Ryos as the tournament champion. Luffy, if you win that, I'll buy you a bronze statue of yourself," exclaimed Nami. Luffy was delighted to agree. "Competitors," Naruto said loudly but masked. Everyone fell silent to allow him to easily project his voice. "You've done well to get this far. Without a doubt, your toughest battles will be tomorrow. Everyone here is undeniably talented. However, there can only be one winner. Take this opportunity to unwind before we begin again tomorrow." As he finished his announcement and walked away with his wife, everyone applauded. He vanished in a flash before any of the cages could intercept him to arrange a meeting.